So every year I make a video where I try to predict the top 25 players in the NBA in 5 years from now. And it's definitely harder than it sounds. And I'm excited because in January, it's going to be 2025. And I did my first version of that back in COVID in 2020. So we're going to be reacting to that in January. But today, maybe a little precursor to that because NBC Sports dropped a 50 best players in 5 years back in 2019. So what is going on, everybody? How is everybody doing today? I'm excited to react to this. It's pretty much their 50 best players in 5 years, and they included LeBron and Durant. So hey, they were right about doing that. And yeah, I'm excited to react to my list in January when we get there. And why don't we just react to this? I'll leave a link to this in the article below. And let's just get into this. So we're going to start off with Cade Cunningham and Amani Bates. You know what? I think Cade this year is probably playing like a top 50 guy, but I think in the offseason, when everybody was making their top 50 list, I think there was debates. Should Cade be in the 40s? Should Cade be in the 50s? So that's a great take because back in 2019, Cade was well into his high school days, and we didn't even, I think, know what college he was going to. Yeah, we didn't even know he was going to Oklahoma State. Obviously, if he's the number one pick, or becomes the number one pick back in the 2021 draft. Amani Bates, though, I can't really put any hate on that either because back then, everybody thought he was like the next Andrew Wiggins, the next Anthony Davis when he was in high school. He committed to Michigan State. And then I think he had a poor senior year, decommitted to Michigan State, went to Memphis, and then left that for like Central or Western Michigan. And is now on the Cavs G League team. So yeah, I would say he's maybe like the 200th best player in the NBA, not 49. But the Cade, that's impressive. All right, let's go on here to number 48. We have Klay Thompson. Klay will be 34. This is made in August of 19. So this is, I think, right off the ACL tear. But they didn't know that it was going to happen again the following year. So was Klay like a top 100 player in the NBA? Probably not. But I see the vision of him being there at 48. Cole Anthony. Oh, man, that is funny. Cole Anthony, 47th ranked. Yeah, he was a high school recruit. He was obviously in that 2020 draft. Had a mediocre year, you could say, at UNC, but the high school pedigree, and he was still a good player at UNC. And the son of Greg Anthony kind of maybe probably made him such a hyped up prospect. He still like was a good player, got a second contract from the Orlando Magic. Probably not a top 100 guy, and he's been bad this year. Lonzo Ball there at 46 and Brandon Ingram at 45. So this was in August of 2019. Both these guys were on the Pelicans. Like they just got traded from LA to New Orleans. Brandon Ingram at 45, that's a good take. I would say maybe he's a little bit better than that, but honestly, that's around the range where you would have Ingram right now. So you know what? That's a double of a take from them. Lonzo Ball at 46. Injuries kind of set him back a little bit. Obviously, multiple injuries, and then the big one in Chicago in January of 2021, where he didn't play for basically 2.5 years. So that's obviously a reason why Lonzo isn't a top 40 or 50 player in the league. But if you watched him at the start of that Bulls tenure, it really looked like he could have been a top 50 guy in the league and could have been like Derek White or Jalen Suggs, one of those versions. 44, we got Jared Allen. That's a good take. Like Jared Allen in 2019 on the Brooklyn Nets before he got traded to Cleveland, I would say Jared Allen is around a top 50 guy in the league. So that's a really good take by NBC. Victor Oladipo at 43. Obviously, injuries derailed his career. 2019 was a high for Oladipo. Obviously, he did get injured in that 2019 season. He won Most Improved in 2018. But yeah, injuries pretty much derailed Oladipo's career. He leaves Indiana and never really was anything in Houston or that cup of coffee he had in Miami. CJ McCollum at 42. That probably hasn't aged the best. I would say McCollum is still a top 100 guy in the league. Top 50, that's tough. RJ Barrett at 41. You know what? That may be kind of high, but the way he's playing this year, you can make a good argument that RJ's probably around a top 60 guy in the league. RJ was just drafted 3rd overall to the Knicks, so I'm intrigued to see how high they have Zion Williamson, because when this article came out was 2 months after Zion got drafted by the Pelicans, and obviously he was like the most hyped up player in the league there. Then I wonder like where Ja is also, but yeah, RJ Barrett at 41, not a bad take. Oh my God. You know what? Shout out to them for having LeBron here. I'm intrigued if I had LeBron in my ranking when I do it. But yeah, LeBron, they're at number 40, 39 years old. To be honest with you, this year, LeBron is probably playing around like the 40th best guy in the league. You can maybe still say top 30 or top 25. So just having him at 40, I think that's a good take. Obviously not really a great defensive player, but the offense is still really elite. Okay, back-to-back misses here. Marvin Bagley. This was after his rookie year, and they still had him pretty high. Like you have him at 39, 25 years old. Yeah, like that's an L. Marvin Bagley, probably not a top 150 guy in the league. And then Gary Harris. Interesting. He was 24 years old then when they did this. Good 3-and-D player. Had some maybe borderline top 100 years, but 38, that's crazy. Gary Harris better than LeBron. Boy, did they not know what was going to happen. We got James Wiseman at 37. James Wiseman wasn't even, I think, committed to, or maybe he was committed to Memphis. Yeah, because this was going into the 2020 college season where Memphis had Wiseman and Precious Achiuwa, and Wiseman didn't really play at all there, and he still got drafted second overall because of the injuries. So honestly, he never gets hurt in the NBA. Maybe there's a chance he's a top 40 player in the league and he's one of the more athletic big men because he's 23. He's 23, but he's had 2 major injuries in his career in the NBA, and then also one major one at Memphis. Aaron Gordon at 36, not a bad take either. This is before he gets traded to the Denver Nuggets and became, I think, at times a top 50 guy in the league. Are we going to see him be a top 50 guy anymore? Not too sure about that. 36, not the worst one. Like, Wiseman's bad, obviously, but I think Gary Harris is probably like one of the worst ones because, or even Bagley after the rookie year. Like, for Wiseman, you're taking a shot in the dark because he wasn't even didn't even play a college game yet. Oh, 35, we got Caris LeVert. All right. Not a great one. Caris LeVert has been a good player. He's a good bench scorer. Top 40? No, we can't really say that. Whoa! They were still high on Markkanen. Shout out to them, man. Shout out to them because Markkanen is around that range. Definitely was around this range last year. Maybe not as good as he's been in the last 2 years in Utah, but this is impressive. Lauri Markkanen here at 34. I'm impressed by that. Yeah, because this is when he was in Chicago. This is before he even gets traded to Cleveland. And this was a different time. We got Damian Lillard at 33. That's a good take. Rudy Gobert at 32. Another solid take as well. I would say Dame last year, probably around this range. And then, yeah, this year, he's been great. Dame has been much better this year than he's been last year. Most overpaid is just funny. That's a thing. Rudy Gobert is underrated. Boy, did that change after he got that Supermax from the Utah Jazz. He got traded for all that draft capital in the offseason of 2022. But if you take into account defense, and he just won DPOY last year, number 32 isn't a bad take. Ooh, here's a bad one. Steph Curry, 31. Yeah, Steph Curry, 36 years old, is still probably a top 15, 20-ish guy in the league right now. So 31 does seem a little bit low. Going into this year after the Olympics, he was still a top 10 guy in the league. And you could still say Steph is top 10. So 31, it's a bad take. Paul George at 30. I mean, he did just get another max deal. He's 34 years old. He hasn't looked the same this year, maybe because of the injuries he had in the preseason at the start of the year. But this isn't a terrible take because I would say at the end of last year, he was probably around this range. Ooh, 29, Kevin Durant. Yeah, Kevin Durant is still a top 10 guy in the NBA. Obviously, they were a little bit more cautious here. KD, wrong side of 30, and tore his Achilles. He just signed with the Brooklyn Nets, so this was a while ago. And he really did something historic because that Achilles injury has ended so many careers, but not Kevin Durant because we're in like just another year of Kevin Durant being a dominant scorer. He still gets injured from time to time, but hey, he's 35, 36 years old. Can you blame him? Oh my God, D'Angelo Russell at 28. D'Angelo Russell being better than Kevin Durant. This is just the funny things to look back on because this was the offseason where D'Angelo Russell led Brooklyn to the playoffs. He gets traded for Kevin Durant in the offseason, and this was the peak of D'Angelo Russell. And I was always skeptical of him because I didn't think he could lead an offense again. I didn't like the defense, but he was really fun to watch and was still really good in that 2019 season for Brooklyn. And the reason why Brooklyn got KD and Harden and Kyrie was because of what D'Lo, LeVert, and Jared Allen did for that team in 2019 when they were just the most embarrassing, like worst team in the league leading up to that because of what Billy King did. 27, Jaylen Brown, not a terrible take. Like, not a terrible take whatsoever because I would say, yeah, now he's probably top 20. He just won Finals MVP, but he was a completely different player 5 years ago, so that's a good take. It's also just funny, like, what stood out watching Jaylen Brown when USA basketball training camp came to Los Angeles is because he didn't make the USA Olympics team. Miles Turner at 26, a little bit high. I'd say he's closer to 50, but still a top 50 player in the league. He never ended up winning a DPOY, but we all thought he was going to win one back then. And then let's get here into the top 25. So at number 25... This is funny to look back on because you got Shea at 25. This was the year of Shea's rookie year. Like, we just finished it up, and he just got traded to the OKC Thunder. How Gilgeous-Alexander will develop from here on out will be interesting to watch. His role is changing, and the playing environment and coaching style is changing. He's not going to be Russell Westbrook. Yeah, he's going to be better than Russell Westbrook, which is insane. John Collins at 24. That 2019 John Collins year was great. And it was the best year of his career. So this one is also funny to look back on. There are so many ads on this site. At 23, we have Kyrie Irving. Pretty good. I think Kyrie's around that range right now. 32 years old, not on the Brooklyn Nets anymore, but this is a couple months after he signed with them. And yeah, it's just funny if they didn't trade for James Harden, could they have gotten a ring? And they kept Jared Allen and Caris LeVert. John Morant at 22. That's a pretty good take because I would say John Morant is around that range right now. But DeAndre Ayton at 21. Yeah, after the rookie year, people thought he was going to be this dominant big man in Phoenix. He's now on his second team in the Portland Trailblazers, and it's tough to say if he's even at the top 100 guy in the league. Pascal Siakam at 20, I would say this year he's probably fallen off a little bit. Maybe he's in the 30s or 40s after this year, maybe even the 50s in some people's eyes. But over the last couple of years, he's been around, I think, 25 to 35. So that's a pretty good take after having the DeAndre Ayton one. 19, Kristaps, that's fine. Honestly, like, yeah, Kristaps is not top 20 in the league, most notably because of injuries. But after that 2019 season, during that 2019 season, he gets traded to the Dallas Mavericks. Obviously was recovering from the ACL tear. Was not as good as a lot of people thought he was going to be in Dallas, but is still a really good player for the Boston Celtics today. And when he's healthy, I'd say he's still a top 30 guy, top 35, 40 guy, I should probably say, when he is healthy though. But when you factor in health, top 50, top 60. James Harden at 18. I don't think James Harden's a top 30 guy in the league right now, as we can also see Bradley Beal is there at 17. But having him here, I think, is fine. And I think maybe they were a little bit lower on Harden, or maybe higher on Harden, because Harden, I don't know, though. 2019 Harden was insane, like on the Houston Rockets. Beal at 17. Yeah, that one hurts a little bit because Beal gets the Supermax from Washington. The Suns maybe regret that trade a little bit. And I can't really say Beal's top 50. Still a good player. But top 20 is tough. Triple J at 16. The kid has Chris Bosh written all over him. Jaren Jackson Jr., you know what's funny? He's probably playing, like, not maybe the 16th best player in the league this year, but, like, top 25, top 20. He's having one of the better offensive years of his career. Shout out to them for that, then. And getting in at 15, Jamal Murray. Maybe if we took into account playoffs after 2023, there was a little bit of Jamal Murray top 15 hype. That's probably died down as he's having one of the worst years of his career over the last couple. And he's definitely dealt with some injuries this year as well. We have De'Aaron Fox at 14. That's fine. And then we have Devin Booker at 13. And then you can see Jason Tatum at 12. So, like, ranking out these guys, I mean, Fox was going into, like, what, year 2, year 3. Booker's been in the league for a little bit when this was created in 2019. I mean, Booker 13, Tatum 12 is actually a pretty good take for predicting what the NBA is 5 years from now. Because Booker, that's, like, spot on. 13's, like, spot on for Devin Booker. Fox, maybe a couple spots too high, but this year, Fox has been great for the Sacramento Kings. And Jason Tatum, I think what we know about Tatum now is definitely top 10, but 5 years ago, saying he was going to be that, maybe that's a good take. I don't know if they were a little bit lower on him. Embiid at 11, funny enough, like, Embiid's probably around that range right now when you factor in injuries. Like, he won MVP in 2023, 2024. He was really good when he played, but he didn't play all that much. And this year, he's been dealing with some injuries. Trae Young at 10. That's a little aggressive. Trae Young is not a top 10 player in the NBA, but is still a really good one. And this was after his rookie year as well. And then here's the one that's going to definitely get me when I react to my top 25 list is Ben Simmons. Yeah, I mean, I can't blame them whatsoever. 9. Oh, God, I hope I didn't have Ben Simmons that high, but I really thought, like, Ben Simmons and Giannis back in 2019 were the next two faces of the NBA, them two and Luka. Yeah, I mean, Simmons 23 is a special all-around talent. I mean, he had one of the biggest fall-offs in NBA history, so I can't blame them for that whatsoever. Donovan Mitchell at 8. All right, so Donovan Mitchell had a great rookie year. He did lose to Ben Simmons in the Rookie of the Year race. He'll be 27 in his prime. 8 is, I think, a little high. I would say Donovan Mitchell is closer to Devin Booker around that 13 range. And guys behind them, you'd probably say Embiid is better than Mitchell when he's healthy. Tatum is better. I don't know. Any other, like, top 10 guys, like, obviously Kevin Durant and LeBron could be around that range too, that they had a little bit lower, but who would have thought they would have been still all NBA caliber talents this late into their career. So at number 7, we got Karl Anthony Towns. Yeah, Karl Anthony Towns going into this year, I would say you would probably have him in the 20s, 30s. This year, offensively, he's been playing like a top 15, 20 guy in the NBA. We all thought that Cat was going to be this next great big man offensively. And while he hasn't maybe completed himself to being a number one option. That obviously went to Anthony Edwards, who they don't even have in this top 50 list because he wasn't really the biggest high school name when he committed to Georgia. We did have James Wiseman. They don't have LaMelo Ball. I would find that funny if they have LaMelo Ball in the top 5, but they have Kawhi Leonard at 6. I mean, he was arguably the best player in the NBA after the 2019 season in a lot of people's eyes because he just led the Raptors to an NBA championship. Yes, he signed with the LA Clippers and has probably dropped off because he has the similar vibe to Joel Embiid with the injuries holding him back. Yep, I said how high is Zion going to be before. They have him at 5 and they have Nikola Jokic at 4. I'll put it bluntly. I think Zion is the kind of talent that can redefine the way basketball has to be played in the same way that Steph Curry did, that LeBron James did, and then Shaq did. It's funny to look back on that, but that's how high people thought of Zion after that 2019 draft. If they had a crystal ball, this would be like the Wemby spot, basically, and saying he would be the reason why basketball is redefined. No Paolo Banchero in the top 50. Nikola Jokic coming in there at number 4. Yeah, no, maybe that's a spot or 3 spots too low. Luka coming in at number 3. Spot on. They didn't have him in the top 2. I'm trying to think, though, in my head, top 2, like number 1 or 2 is Giannis. Who else would they have had there? I don't know. I'll try to think about it before we actually go to that spot. Maybe it is like LaMelo or Anthony Edwards. Is it somebody from the... No, because we had Luka here, which is a great prediction. Even predicting Jokic at 4 is definitely impressive, just what he was 5 years ago and how much he's changed into one of the greatest offensive players of all time. Who was number 2? Oh, Anthony Davis. Duh. That's easy, actually. So, yeah, everybody thought Anthony Davis was on his way to being arguably the best player in the NBA. We never really got to that. We definitely got like top 5 Anthony Davis talks, especially after the 2020 season. But number 2, that's fine. And then number 1 is Giannis. So, honestly, I mean, Giannis 1, 82, Luka 3, Jokic 4, Zion 5. I mean, Zion's a bad take at 5. Oh, man, I'm scared to see where I have Zion in mine. And then Anthony Davis is there at number 2. So let me know what you guys thought of this list. I think it's really cool to go back on and predict this. And I do this every single year on this channel. I'll probably make my next version in January. But we're going to react to it once the new year hits. And I think it's just cool to predict what the NBA is going to look like in 5 years, where these guys are either going to rise or fall throughout those 5 years, because it's insanely tough to do. I'm not going to criticize this, and it's just funny to look back on the wrong ones. Like, we were all very high on John Collins, Ben Simmons, Zion Williamson. So that is going to be for me. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, I'd appreciate you dropping a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought of this, and yeah, I'll see you in my reaction to my video in a couple of weeks. Peace.